Hey, what is going on, my people? It's your boy Mario, aka DJ Revelations, and I'm bringing you a new episode of Rebelations Reacts. Thank you so much to every single one of you who continuously come back over here to check out the videos. Greatly appreciate it. I am here to help everyone, including myself, awaken your inner rebel. Why? Because there's a lot going on in our world that a lot of people don't really understand. Everybody sees what's happening in the physical realm, but there's so much more happening in the unseen world, and I truly believe in the unseen world, and there's a lot of reasons why. I don't think we have enough time over here for me to get into it, but I'm going to share a little bit of a video or an interview that I came across on a Christian podcast. The Christian podcast is one by someone called, it's a channel called The Deep End with Taylor Welch. Right? Taylor Welch is actually, from my understanding, I just recently came across his podcast and I'm so grateful for it. He's, from my understanding, he's a really rich dude, millionaire guy who decided to start making Christian content. But it's deep. It's very deep. It's not surface level like Jesus loves you content. Obviously, the main message of Christian content should always be that Christ is King, came to save us, resurrected, has a place for us, wants us to be happy and be our God, right? So came across his channel, very grateful for it. Me and my Christian upbringing, the one thing that has always caught my attention is end time prophecy, or what they call eschatology. But I'm also super fascinated about the term Nephilim. Nephilim are these beings that appear in Genesis 6 in the Bible, and ever since I heard about them, my goodness, I've been obsessed with the topic. I researched the topic like you wouldn't believe, and I feel like that has kept me focused and wanting to grow with godly things in a godly aspect. Okay, so before we get into the video, I want to thank you for being here. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel so that I can continuously feel like people are watching the content and feel something and learn something from it. You know, once again, I'm here for us all to come together and awaken our inner rebels. Okay, so let's get right to it. So in this video, Taylor is interviewing an author called Gary Wayne, and apparently in these circles about this topic, Gary Wayne is a very, very popular person. What an amazing amount of information. It's a very long interview. It's an hour and 47 minutes, but I'm not gonna react to the entire thing. There's just certain parts. I made some notes that I'm gonna get to, and if I don't get to it all in this video, then I'll make another video of to continue it, okay? Because there was just so much information out there. Okay, I ask you all, if you've never heard of the term Nephilim, please dare to open your mind, open your imagination, okay? Because we're about to enter a realm of something very different than what you usually hear about godly things, you know, preaching and stuff. This is not a preaching, okay? This is a conversation about stuff that happens in the Bible. Cool? Let's check it out. Oh yeah, and by the way, you're gonna be fascinated maybe by the connections here between what happened in World War II and Germany. You know, I can't say the name of the regime in Germany, but you get my drift, right? Hitler and all of them. The correlation that this fella makes regarding that regime and the Nephilim, insane. Check this out. I sped it up a little bit just so we can get through it a little bit faster in case you notice that the guy's talking really fast.
The Nephilim, how do they show up in modern times? In your book, you talk about World War II. You talk about even the and who he wanted to be. Can you give us some context into how we can start seeing this puzzle?
Yeah, so if you look at Hans Harburger, he's one of the spiritual sort of mentors and theorists for the whole Nazi regime. And he's really taken in under the arms of the Nazis because he wrote a book that basically traces the genealogy back to giants from the German race. So it becomes a significant sort of piece for it. And they call themselves Aryans. And Indo-Aryan, Indo-European is the term for giants that's used in the secular and Gnostic world regularly, as they're talking about it as more of a historical perspective, both before and after the flood. So there's a direct connection there, and they're drawing on blonde-haired, blue-eyed Aryans.
Okay, so if it's not making sense to you yet, basically what the correlation this man is saying is that I guess Germans are, or the Aryans, like they're really big people, right? Like Germans are like really, really big people. And this correlation that I guess he's making is that Aryan people, or that identify as Aryan, are descendants of Nephilim.
And so typically giants had blonde hair and blue eyes, or red hair and hazel eyes as the common nature. And there's another one that I talk about in book 2 that are the dark-haired giants. Those are the predominant traits. And that they descend from an Atlantis-like civilization who described those giants the same way in that mythology and mythos. And so when we look at how they look at giants, they look at the Aryans as being degraded over time through intermarriage. And this is talking about a post-diluvian scenario with giants that show up after the flood. So one of the ways that we can sort of get a little bit of veracity to behind the belief system of modern giants being royales and being a significant part to the sponsorship of the National Socialist regime in Germany is the understanding that they keep genealogies. They keep their genealogies as royales all the way back into prehistory and back to a specific Nephilim or Rephaim patriarch, into a specific fallen angel or a celestial mafia godfather, as I like to.
Okay, so I know that it's a lot to take in for those of you who have no idea what this guy's talking about. But basically, Nephilim were, as described in the book of Genesis, chapter 6 in the Bible. Genesis was Nephilim are what happened when angels, rebellious angels, were having relations. You know, they were Bonnie Bluing with human women, right? If you have no idea the reference about Bonnie Blue, please check out the video. I'm gonna share it up here. Where was I? Yeah, so the Nephilim are what happened. They are the spawn of that unholy union, you know, with these rebellious angels called the Watchers, right?
Talk about them tongue in cheek.
How do they even find it?
Well, they've been.
Oh yeah, when he talks about antediluvian and post-diluvian, a lot of faiths, almost all religions in the world, believe that a major global flood happened, right? And in Christianity, the belief is that God brought the flood to rid the world of the bulk of Nephilim. But the Bible says that Nephilim still exists today, right after the flood. So pay attention.
And
They're
keeping
keeping
them
the records.
all the way through. Yeah.
Wow.
It's part of their cult. It's where they fit in the hierarchy of bloodlines all over the world. So King Charles, for example, formerly Prince Charles, he's on record as talking about descending from Vladimir the Great. Or not Vladimir the Great, Vladimir the Impaler out of the Romanian Transylvania region. And that's interesting because he has those genealogies that go back to the Hanover dynasty. They changed their names from Hanover to Windsor in World War I. And it goes back to the individual that Dracula, meaning son of a dragon or a seraphim, is named after. A being the suffix for a son.
Okay, so I know it's like a lot of random stuff right now, but basically Prince Charles is saying that he descended from Vlad the Impaler. And if you look into history about that Romanian dude, Vlad the Impaler, that guy was a twisted dude. And you're also saying that the royal family, right, of England, their background is German, right? They used to be Hanover, their last name, and they changed it to Windsor. I wonder why.
And that it doesn't stop there, that bloodline takes their genealogies back to a Scythian tribe or an Indo-Aryan tribe after the flood. It's called the Agrathi. And there's another branch that's Scion in there that goes back to another fallen angel, Tamiel or Kezadea, as he's listed in the book of Enoch. But on the other side, on the patriarchal side, it goes back to Hercules, who's the son of Zeus, who married Alcmene, a human female, to produce Hercules. And that's part of the Herculides bloodline, or the Gyges kings after the flood. And it's this royal bloodline. And they have the genealogies to back this up. So,
right. So if you look at all these stories that you hear, Hercules and all of this, it sounds like cool stories, right? But at the end of the day, when you put two and two together, right, if you are a follower of Christianity or a believer of what the Bible says, Hercules is a Nephilim, right? The breeding of a human with a god. But these aren't gods. These are fallen angels that are mixing with humans. Right, but I want to get to something a little bit more specific here. Let me check my notes over here. So Zeus blended with human woman, made Hercules the leader of the regime in Germany that I cannot name. He was looked at as a messiah to those people, right? To his followers, right? He was sort of like a messiah, right? He was their chosen person. And apparently they believed in something called Arianosophy, right? I got to look into this myself, but look up Arianosophy, okay? And basically giants were created to destroy God's people, right? That's basically what these rebellious angels that I guess felt like human beings are not worthy of God, or why does God look at us so like in preference over them, right? So it gets a little bit more interesting, right?
I was asked several times early on is, how do we know that's true? And do you believe them? And I'm going, it doesn't really matter whether I believe them. It's what they believe that matters, and it's what they do with that belief system that we need to be interested in and be aware of, because they're working an agenda based on that belief system. So roll this forward back to the Nazis. They take their genealogies and they're trying to recreate the Superman, which is a superhero, and heroes were giants in Greek mythology, the demigods, and they're trying to recreate that genealogical history in their research to recreate the new man, another word for a new Nephilim. And they're going to do that going forward in the Nazi regime by eugenics and through intermarrying, so that they can somehow recreate the spark of the divine that they're looking for en masse. We might know that in the New Age lingo and political speeches as 1,000 points of light. It's the spark of the fallen angels, of that counterfeit spirit that they're looking for. So they're trying to do that. And why would the Nazis do that? Well, we can look at World War II and the Nazis as a end time archetype for us to look at, or an analogy to look at. It has all the essence of what's coming. They were trying to create a modern Nephilim, which is going to be part of the end time somehow, some way.
Okay, so you hear that, people? So these people, these sick people, right, of that regime during World War II, they were doing a lot of experiments on people, and apparently a lot of modern science took a lot of what we know now about the human body and certain things from the torture that the Jews went through during that time. So the means don't justify the end, or the end doesn't justify the means. But what this gentleman is saying is that basically they were on a mission trying to recreate Nephilim, like a superhuman, right? So very, very interesting, right?
With what we had just talked about, the Führer is introduced in their literature from Wagner, or from the literature that they study, and that it wasn't Wagner, it's another artist, doesn't really matter, but Führer is their messiah as it's raised to. So he positions himself as a messiah. They will be trying to set up a world government and a 1,000-year Reich, with the Third Reich that they're trying to set up. So it's a counterfeit millennium that they're trying to set up. They create the Reichschurch in 1933 to formalize their new religion that they call Ariosophy, which is theosophy and Volkish ideology and Arianism that's combined to make Ariosophy. Theosophy is introduced as an extension of Gnosticism and the secret societies into Germany in the late 1800s. Blavatsky is the one who popularizes it worldwide, but they put their own Volkish understanding of that, or Volkish and real ideology, onto that belief system to create their new religion. So the Nazi regime and its roots.
I know. It's a lot. Theosophy, Arianosophy. I'm a bit familiar with Theosophy because it was created by somebody called Madame Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley, right? You hear me talk about Aleister Crowley a lot. Basically his teachings, right, what he created, Thelema, comes from the writings of Blavatsky, right? She was basically the person he looked up to, right, where he got a lot of his ideas from and ideologies and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very weird and interesting stuff.
Roots is going to go back to a perversion, so to speak, of theosophy into specific Ariosophy or Arianism and a hatred of Jewish people. And the giants were created to destroy God's people. So it's part of that belief system and secret society. So you're going to have, in secret societies, their religion is Gnosticism. So it's just an extension of the same thing. So Freemasonry and Rosicrucian is a significant part of the formation of the political complex or the hegemony in Germany. And you're going to have people like von List, who's going to create the Arnamen order in the early 1900s. And then in 1907, von List, Liefensberg is going to create the New Temple. And that's going to form by 1912 and merge with Arian.
Hold on, maybe this is going a little bit too fast for y'all to be able to, but if you need to, please rewind it a little, because it's a lot to take in. I had to rewind it a few times to like really take my notes,
Ideology to form the Germanen Orden secret society that's going to make the way for the Tula or Thule society, as a lot of people would pronounce it, which is the ancient Atlantis in the Norse and German mythology that Hitler is going to be initiated into. So you have this complex work that we could go into a lot more details, but I'm just trying to lay the table of what we can look for the end time, that they're looking to put this world government in place with this polytheist ancient form of the religion that goes back to before the flood in control.
To recreate it.
Yeah, to bring in a counterfeit millennium. And then you have a holocaust of the Jewish people. So roll that forward to the end time as well with the tribulation of the saints and the Great Tribulation. And you're seeing a similar kind of thing that we can expect for the end time.
Right, so, well, that was a lot to take in, right? But basically the Bible says that in the end times, right, the things are going to be like the days of Noah, right? And the days of Noah, this is before the flood, right? One world government, people wanted to make a one world government. There's just so much to digest in this video, like I highly recommend y'all go and check out this interview because it's a lot. There's a part in there where he talks about, never mind, let's just get to it.
So Theosophy, just for people who haven't heard that, says it's a philosophical spiritual movement that seeks to explore the underlying truths of existence, blending insights from religion, science, and philosophy, emphasizing the search for divine wisdom, the unity of all life, and transcending the boundaries of individual religions and belief systems, like a tethering together. Would hermeneutics or Kabbalah be examples of a theosophy?
It's all part of it. So Theosophy, when you break that down, Theos, God, and Sophia, the mother goddess. So you're actually getting a male and female dualism that's in the pantheon within that word. And it would also be understood the wisdom of God. But in their understanding, it wouldn't be God singular, it would be God's plural.
Yeah.
So this is that ancient knowledge
Polytheism.
of polytheism as being a knowledge cult.
So,
Okay, so we all know and believe in Christianity that there's one true God. There's only one God. There are no other gods, right? And in my belief, and I say this respectfully, you know, I don't want to insult anybody who follows a different type of religion, you know, but in our belief is that all of these other gods that exist, you know, in all these other religions, I believe they were real at one point. I believe that people saw them, but what were they really seeing? Were these gods, or were these Nephilim, or were they fallen angels? Right? Were they fallen angels that appeared to people? And you know, you look at the Orishas, for example, you know, they believe in one God, but then there's all these other demigods like Oshun, Shango, Ogun, Yamaya, you know, like they have all of these other deities. And what if those deities were real at one point, you know? But what if they were Nephilim? Makes sense a little bit, right?
now that we're on the topic of World War II, by the way, you're going to have to wrangle control from us because he just talked about World War II, and I know we're going to do it quick, but now I don't want to do it quick. I want to go into it.
Let's go into it.
It's Gary's fault, really. I've studied a lot of World War II.
Yeah.
It seems to me that the Germans were having help.
Yep.
The technology they were creating. I mean, how they didn't bulldoze the whole world, I think that either God intervened or Hitler went crazy or some sort of both. But do you see that in history? Like he was getting downloads somewhere. Something was giving him stuff.
They were having information provided for them, and they said that they received the knowledge from their celestial white brotherhood or spirit guides or aliens or however you want to describe them. And at the Rosicrucian level, they're in constant level of communication. And that's where it's important to understand how the secret society sort of fit into the creation of National Socialism, which is a left-wing movement, not a right-wing movement that's been reimagined so that people get sort of confused. And so when we look at the help that they were having, how do we know that? Well, it's A, they said it. B, they wouldn't let them talk about their occult beliefs in the Nuremberg and other trials because they didn't want to allow the ability to have them plead insanity after putting that on the table.
Did you hear that, people? Did you hear that right there? So basically the Germans, like how were they like being able to do so much? Where were they getting their strategies, the technology from? They were saying it themselves that they were getting it from somewhere else, right? And while they were all being tried for after the fact, right, after World War II ended, Winston Churchill didn't want them to be able to talk about their spiritual practices, because if they did, and they said that, oh, well, we were following the instructions of so-and-so being or whatever, you know, fallen angel name, they would be able to plead insanity and get away with their crimes, right? So they didn't allow them to talk about that, apparently. Where are we at? Holy, we're almost at 20 minutes here. I think at this point right now, let's just take in a little bit more of this, and I'm going to end the video here because I think part 2 is definitely in the works.
And so Winston Churchill and the prosecutor said, no, we don't want to allow that.
Oh, wow.
And so when you look now at where did they get the technology and information to create the Tiger and Panzer tanks, which is the same format of tank that's used to this day, that was way ahead of any other technology around the world. And it was so far superior. If they could produce enough of these and other weapons, they would have won the war. They received jet engine technology.
Yep.
They received rocket engine technology. They received whatever this bell-shaped technology was that some people speculate on might have been an interdimensional device or a time-traveling device or something like that, you know, sort of disappeared. It's on the records, but nobody knows, at least on the declassified records, as to what happened. Where did the Blitzkrieg strategy come from? Out of nowhere, just in time for all of this new technology. And it was being fed to them because Hitler you could look at as an Antichrist wannabe. And biblically, we're told that the Antichrist spirit has been with us all the time, as the epistles of John talks about. And it's always lurking, always looking for a possible Antichrist figure. So we see beast empires that rise up through the world in the post-Diluvian empire. And so whether or not it's Nebuchadnezzar that begins with the prophecies in Daniel 2 and 7 and 8, and will extend into Revelation with the 7th empire, you have Antichrist wannabe type figures there. Alexander would be another terrific one. And we sort of get an understanding with the inference that is being discussed with Michael in the book of Daniel that he's going to fight against the beast empires, not from them coming, but just to fight against them. And seemingly it seems to be to prevent the Antichrist to come before the ordained time. So when Antichrist rolls forward again, now as we look into the end time, he rises to power at the midpoint of the last 7 years at the abomination. In Daniel 12, which is talking about the last 3.5 years, Michael is seen sitting. So the implication is, as he stands up again to do the war in heaven, that Revelation is going to talk about with, again, 3.5 years mentioned for the timing at the time of the abomination after Judea flees to the wilderness. And so it seems like Michael is part of what's restraining, or the complete restrainer, but certainly is working actively to make sure the Antichrist doesn't come. And he's withholding, as it's described in the KJV Bible in those accounts about Michael. And so,
Yo, did you guys hear that? So what he's saying is that the archangel Michael, right? Michael's a warrior angel, the leader of the army, of God's army. He's basically withholding, holding back end time prophecy from happening. Why? Because there's still a lot of people in this world that don't know about Christ, that don't know about God, and God's just being fair, to allow the message to be sent to them, right? And podcasts like what Taylor's doing over here, having these type of guests on here, it's fantastic. The day and age that we are living in, because I've always had so many questions, about certain parts of the Bible that nobody could ever really explain to me. Like, did the humans live alongside with dinosaurs and this and that and this, like so many questions, and nobody could ever give me a straight answer because they didn't entertain these things because it was a little bit too confusing, or it was very deep. But I'm glad that there's people out there in the world. I'm grateful for the internet. I'm grateful for YouTube that, believers of Christ, are allowing themselves to be used by God in this way, where intellectual conversations are happening regarding these things, or a different theory or a different point of view of like the behind the scenes of like how did the German regime of World War II come to power and have the kind of power that they did. And basically what is being said here is that they were getting their power from somewhere else, an unseen world. Okay, so all right, so I had a brief interruption and I have no idea where this ended, so my bad. I'm just gonna end it right here, but please stay tuned for part 2 of this reaction to this amazing topic about Nephilim. Please do your own research. It is an amazing topic, at least for me, because I always wonder, like, who are the people that run this world, right? Well, who are the behind the scenes people? Where did they get these ideas from on like how to govern the world and oppress humanity? I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard about the 13 bloodlines and stuff like that. They run the world. Well, what if Nephilim are involved in those 13 bloodlines, right? But thank you so much for joining me this far. Do you like the topic? If you did, please let me know down in the comments below. If there's something that you heard in here that you're curious about, that maybe I can give you a little bit more direction of like where to go research certain things, please leave me a comment down below. Share this video with your friends, people that you think would probably be interested in this topic. Okay, I'm your boy Mario, aka DJ Rebelations, and I'm here trying to help you and myself awaken your inner rebel. Okay, have a great day, great night, wherever you are. Peace.